Oh, it's too dark.
Well, hi guys. I guess we're live on here, and so today my husband and I are doing this Bible study today, and the topic is going to be on weight and balance. And so my husband's going to go ahead and he's going to speak on the aviation and cars, tying in with the Bible, and then I will be um, also be taking part of this, but not with the aviation and cars. I'll be sharing my part of that towards the end of this video. So go ahead.
All right, guys. So we're gonna do this is kind of a twist, but anyway, let me define weight and balance. Weight, according to AI on the internet, a body relative mass or the quality of matter contained by a given rise to downward force. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, balance, an even distribution of weight, enabling someone or something to remain upright and steady. Okay, you guys all know whether your vehicle, automotive, or airplane, you know about weight and balance, or you should anyway. Your tire, you go hit a curve, your tire goes out of balance, right? It gives it a vibration. Okay, your harmonic balancer goes out, you get a vibration engine. Okay, you get a U joint. You guys know in the cars, you get a U joint goes out, you get a vibration on your drivetrain. A prop goes out, you're in real big trouble. Your airplanes, the prop goes out, usually the prop pulls the engine with it. You better have a plan. Okay. So anyway, what does this have to do with the Bible? I'm going to go that in a few minutes. But I just wanted to go over that part right there. And so I'm going to tie in the weight and the balance. Okay, you got to continue listening in to figure out so I can explain what does what. So I explained the balance portion, and the weight portion is I'm going to explain in simple terms for aviation. Okay, and let me just explain that real quick right here. Well, I got a little model here. Mm-hmm. So this is just typical ground school. Okay, to get it balanced, right? So what you have thrust from your prop, from your engine. Okay, you have drag, you have weight, you have lift, correct? And as long as you're cruising faster than your drag, you're gonna be in equilibrium. You're gonna be balanced, right? But you got to move forward. You have to keep moving to overcome the drag from the whole airplane. Okay, so that's how we're going to tie this all in together. Okay. All right. So let's just start with we're going to start with Proverbs 16:11. Now let me just do a disclaimer. It's from the NIV Bible. We're, like I said, we're not for a church. We're not doing it for. This is totally our opinion.
And also I'm sorry, honey. Also, we are not therapists. Mm-hmm. And like my husband says, we're not ministers. We're just strictly sharing stuff that we done research on, mm-hmm. and so forth. Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to just start from the NIV Bibles. Proverbs 16:11. The Lord just demands fairness in every business deals. He sets the standards. That's the boundaries. Okay. So let me tie this in with weight and balance. Let's go back to this. Okay, so basically it's boundaries. So if I'm flying this airplane straight and level, everything's in equilibrium. But let's say I have, so basically just like I said, you aviation people, you already know this because it's part of your checklist and part of your ground school. You already had this from the beginning, okay? But you know, the way the airplane, if the engine's up front and you got the prop, you got to counteract the weight with the tail. So this is inverted wing right here, okay? The way they do that is so when you got enough air going over your elevator, you can balance out the prop. Therefore, when you pick up, when the plane is you're going to pick up with the elevator, which makes the nose go up. Okay. So your CG, your whole point of this video is about the CG, center of gravity. So it's a balance. This is all a balance act. Your CG should be slightly above the maximum pressure lift, right about here, right before the leading. This is called the leading edge. So that's when it's balanced. But if you go up too much or down, if you go up too much, you get the angle of attack. It changes that pressure. So the factory, if you ever get car guys, just listen, you can understand very easily. Okay, so basically what the factory does is they have limits. You have forward limits and rear limits. They're not very much. It could be this little airplane or it could be a jet. It's the same thing, same deal. If you're too forward, in other words, if you're too forward, CG is too much. You're going to have to take a lot more elevator to lift that nose up. Okay, it becomes heavier, and so you have issues where it becomes nose heavy. So you're dragging. You create more drag by your rear wing, which is your elevator portion. Okay, now if you're beyond the aft limits, you have other problems. It goes faster because you don't have as much drag right back here. You don't have as much deuce drag, but what happens is you start getting you could get a stall very easily, and I'll go into stall in a minute. So basically, it's like you with cars, you got a trailer with a tail, all you weight in the tail, right? I mean, not in the front axle. You have it all the way in the very back. What happens is it's the same thing with airplane. If you're too tail heavy, your car gets sloppy and your wheels come off the ground, and it's really hard to stop, right? You go down the highway and start swerving back and forth. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you're too heavy up front of the car or the trailer, it sags on the springs. Your front wheels pick up, and it doesn't swerve as much, but you still can have out of control too. So ideally, you want to keep your balance in the middle of the axle of your trailer, correct? Okay. Same thing affects with the airplane. Same kind of principle. The idea is to have that center right here, right in the middle. You want to the manufacturer sets those limits. So you have a CG limit, and you have CG for forward and CG limit for aft. Anyway, this is basic ground school stuff when you first start. Okay, I'm just referencing this to what I'm talking about with a Bible study. Okay, so let's move on. I think you guys have about the center of gravity. Leviticus, so I'm going to talk about Leviticus 19:35-36. Do not use dishonest standards when measuring length, weight, or volume. Your scales and weights must be accurate. I, the Lord, am your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. You must be careful to obey all my laws and regulations, for I am the Lord. Okay, so he's setting boundaries. The forward limit, the aft limit. He's saying, okay, we talked about this before, or in the last 2 videos ago, I think, that boundaries create freedom. Okay, and if you're cars or aviation, you know that. If you have it too overloaded, guess what? You're going to crash. If your plane's overloaded in any way, if you're out of the boundaries of that CG limit, you're going to crash. Okay. So let's go into Philippians 4:5. Let everyone see that you are considerate in all that you do. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. So again, boundaries. So let me go to to Matthew 25:1-13. I think a lot of you know this one. It's about the bridesmaids, the example of heaven and the bridesmaids. And my wife I guess she's putting up through the light.
Sorry, because of the light.
Okay. And you guys know, if you don't know, I'm just going to paraphrase it a little bit. So it's Matthew 25:1-13. It's basically, it talks about the 10 bridesmaids to meet the bridegroom. Okay. Jesus, of course. We have 5 foolish ones, 5 foolish bridesmaids, and 5 wise ones. The 5 foolish ones, they basically, so the 5 foolish ones delayed and laid down and slept at midnight. And so that the 5 wise one always had extra oil. Their lamp was always full. And you guys know what that means. It's a simile. That you're always ready. You're ready to go. I mean, no matter what, you're ready. The foolish one, and I'm going to tie this into something else. Okay, just bear with me. So the bridesmaids were delayed, and they laid down and went to sleep. And at midnight, they aroused by the shout. Look, the bridegroom is coming. Come out and welcome him. Okay, so the wise ones were ready to go. They had the oil done. They're ready. The foolish ones, hey, can I have some extra oil? No, we don't have any extra. So with the wise one said, well, go to the store and get some oil. And so so they did. The 5 foolish ones, they didn't have enough oil for the bridegroom, so they went to the store and got extra oil. Okay, when they came back, what happened? And you know what happened. The brides. So basically, they came back, and the bridegroom took the ones that were ready. They had all the oil ready to go, and they locked the door on the foolish ones. They had to go to the store. They weren't ready. Now, what does that sound like? So that's in the Matthew, the New Testament. Okay, Matthew, like I said, Matthew 25, 1 through 13. What does it sound like? Doesn't it sound like Noah? So Noah, you can imagine, you can picture this. He's some old guy, 100 years old, to 100 years or so. I don't know the exact number, but it took him a long time to build this ark, right? And God told him, told the people, you have to, believe in me and get on board. Somehow the animals had no problem with it. But of all those people that he told to get on the boat, only 8, Noah and his family, his kids and his wives and all that stuff, 8 people went on that boat, on that ship or ark. So can you imagine the humiliation of those people? They're not ready. And what did he do? He says, okay, the waters are rising. And what did God do? He locked the door. Just like the bridesmaids. It's the same thing. Just, people are not ready. And so this is going to be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to do it anyway. So what I'm going to go to is the churches. And I'm going to say this about Ephesians. So this goes to the Ephesians. So let everyone consider, and all that you do, remember the Lord is coming soon. Like I said, we talked about the boundaries of the bridesmaids. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is, and I said this before, about churches. That if you think you're going to think that churches or the minister is going to save you, whatever, I think you have to hear the statistics. And this is controversial. I already know it is. You can leave in the comments. It's fine. It's controversial, but what I feel like a lot of people are asleep. Like the black bridesmaids who are sleeping, their lamp is half full. I feel like that way is a lot of the churches are. People go to church, and I'm just going to say this. So this is a chart I have here. Bible reads today. I'm just going to read it. Here's a chart. This is the internet search. It's just typical. You can do it yourself.
Show it at the camera so they can.
So typical internet search. Okay. I just took a snap picture of it. So I'm going to read this off to you. Okay. This is how many people even read the Bible. 9%. This is Christians, not atheists or Buddhists or whatever. It's just Christians, American Christians, not anywhere else. Just America. 9% of the Christians don't read the Bible at all. 12% just read a few sentences. 29% read several stories. 18% read about half. 12% almost all. Okay, only 12% read all. And that's almost all. 13% read all of it. I mean, entire thing. And 9% all at them once. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say, we're like, oh my gosh, we're every day. We try to. We pray every day, and we try to read the Bible every day. I'll say we're work in progress. I'm not going to sit here and say, we're better than anything else. I'm just telling you, the American, our opinion, my opinion, is American. Based on this, the Americans are. If you look at the story of the 10 maidens, the Americans are the 5 foolish ones. They're asleep. Their lamps are half full. That's only my opinion. I feel like they're not ready. It just said right there in Philippians 4-5, the Christ is coming. And he's going to come. Like I said, in the foolish ones weren't expected. They're asleep. They're like, oh, well, it's delayed. The bridegroom was delayed. And I'm sure they had that Noah say too, that it was probably delayed. And you could read the Bible yourself about that story. But the people weren't serious about it. Just like in the bridegroom story. They were not in Matthew 25, 1-13. They weren't ready. They didn't think anything of it. No, it's okay. I feel that way in the church. Okay. Anyway, let's go on to this. So I'm going to do the average sermon. So the average sermon. So if you guys depend on your minister or preacher, so Catholic, I guess, is 14 minutes. It's the least amount. The average sermon according to one point. This is again from the internet. You can download it yourself. It's right there. Okay. Right there. The average sermon length, according to one poll, ranged for 20 to 28 minutes. If this is accurate, it is telling an indicator of spiritual depth of today's churches. So if you're doing, and this has, I'm going to tie this into balance. All right. So if you're doing 28 minutes a week, let's say you don't crack open the Bible. I already read it to you, the statistics. Let's say you're only doing 20 minutes a week. So how can you have a relationship with your wife or your family if you give them 20 minutes of your time, a week? So let's say 30 minutes a week times 4, that's 120 minutes. So basically 2 hours a month. Can you say, if you're only giving Christ 20 minutes of your time, okay, how can you say you have a relationship with him? How can you say you're on fire for Jesus? If you just show up to church and you dance around and sing the music and you're
going out partying and drinking beer.
Well, I'm just saying, just the relationship that if you have a relationship with Jesus and you're only spending 20 minutes to get the sermon, you don't crack over the book at all, the Bible at all, get the word at all on your own. How can you expect to have a relationship with it? I mean, you can say, yeah, I go to church, I do my 10% tithing and all that stuff, but is that what it says in the Bible that you're supposed to do? You're not really. Can you really say you got a relationship with Jesus?
Or come out of the church and then you're a different person and out there partying and doing everything else. But then again, you're back in church again. And I'm just going to read this paper. The average sermon length, according to one poll, ranged from 20 to 28 minutes. If this statistic is accurate, it is telling an indicator of spiritual depth of today's churches. Many churches have already discontinued their evening services. With a trend of reducing the length of Sunday morning sermons, our generation is receiving less than half of the biblical teaching our parents sat under. The better a person understands the Word of God, the more they will grow spiritually. How is it then that we think we can grow more with a decreased appetite for God's word? I found it difficult to believe that current pastors and their 20-minute sermon editors 20 sermon editors can reach any length of compatible depth to the 80 minutes or more pastors used to be given between the morning and evening services. Someone in the church, so basically, okay, it goes on about that. So I'm going to just do one more and we'll continue on. But isn't it true, honey, that where people have a tendency where they're in church and they're praising God and everything else, which is great. And, we're all asking God to forgive us for our sins. But as soon as as soon as they leave the church, they're back to day one. They're back to doing it again. And Jesus doesn't want us to fall into those bad behaviors again. He wants us to learn from those behaviors and to move forward. And so, do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I'm just comparing.
They didn't hear you.
Yes.
Do you agree with that? Okay.
So I'm just trying to keep it on tangent here with our weight and balance. So I'm just going to read this. This is bad news.
Slow down.
Much like the other Americans, the pastors who do not have a biblical worldview are unlikely to embraced a complete competing worldwide. In fact, less than 1% of pastors embody a worldwide worldview other than biblical theism, the biblical worldview. Really bad news. Instead, their prevailing worldview is best described as synchronism, the blending of ideas and application of various holistic worldviews into a unique but inconsistent combination that represent their personal preference. More than 6 of 10 pastors, 62%, have predominantly syncretic worldviews.
Where'd you find that information from?
This is just from the internet, just
okay.
AI. Okay. So let me just do, let me move on. And I'm going to give you one more example, and then my wife Lydia could take over. But I'm going to just give you one more without wasting time here.
You're not wasting time. You got plenty of time. My husband always seems to think that each time we're live on here that he doesn't have time, but we have plenty of time. It's only 20 after, honey.
Okay. Let me read this real quick. So I'm going to read Timothy. This has a lot to do with it too. This has something to do with balance.
Take your time, honey. Take your time.
Okay. So the green pen. Okay, I'm going to read Timothy 3:2. Okay. All right. And this ties into weight and balance. Okay. I'm going to do 3:2. For an elder must be a man whose life cannot be spoken against. He must be faithful to his wife. He must exhibit self-control, live wisely, and have a good reputation. He must enjoy having guests in his home and must be able to teach. He must not be a heavy drinker or be violent. He must be gentle, peace-loving, and not one who loves money. He must manage his own family well, with children with respect, and obey him. For if a man cannot manage his own household, he cannot take care of God's church.
What does that mean, honey?
Well, it's just what we're talking about. You say what you mean what you say what you mean. If you act like God and you preach like God, then you're following.
You're for God.
You're for God. But if you don't, I'm just saying, just going back to the 10 maidens. I believe a lot of maidens, the bridesmaids, the foolish ones, are asleep. They're asleep at the wheel. Okay, they say, yeah, I know Jesus, I know this, but do you really? And this is the boundaries I'm talking about. It's like you said before, the boundaries. And on the plane, it's about. And I'll give you another example in a few minutes. You just gotta hang in there. You gotta if you're gonna do it, then do it all the way. Don't just say, okay, well, I did my church service, I did my 10% tithing, and I don't drink, and I'm. You can't just say you're a good person. That's not gonna cut it.
That's not good enough.
It's not good enough. You gotta go a little deeper than that. You can't say. And let me give an example right now. I'm going to go through this. For you aviation people, you know what I'm talking about, okay? But for you non-aviation people, just hang in there. I'm going to go to the example because I kind of try to tie in this in, but I'm going to go ahead and do this example right now. So we're in 23 minutes.
No, you're good. Keep going.
So I'm going to give an example. So you're flying. Let's say this plane right here. I'm flying in the fog. I'm an IFR. If you're not a pilot, don't worry about it. IFR is instrument flight rules, okay? It means you're flying by instruments. And I'll show you some instruments in a minute. But let's say I'm in a fog and I'm dependent on myself, okay? You're not depending on Jesus. You're your own person. I'm an old man, and I'm going to be the boss myself. I'm not putting my hands on Jesus. I'm doing myself. I'm just giving you a scenario, okay? Just listen up. It just lists the scenario. Okay, I'm in the fog, and let's say I'm rusty IFR pilot, and I just say, you know what? I don't need to. And when they tell you in flight school, you can take your ground school, especially for instrument. You're dependent on your instruments. Okay, don't rely on your body. In other words, don't rely on you. You rely on the instruments. So let's say I'm just giving you a scenario. Jesus is your instruments. Okay, his altimeter, and I'll show you that. So let me show you that. Just hang in there. Even if you're not pilot, just hang in there. Okay. So here's an instrument panel. Okay, this is called a 6-pack. Oops, let me see. This is a 6-pack. All right. Okay. Here's your altimeter.
Yeah.
Okay. That's your HSI, horizontal situation indicator. There's your airspeed. There's your turn and bank with the inclinometer right there. So there's actually 2 instruments right here. Okay. This is your direction gyro, and there's your VSI, the vertical speed indicator. Okay. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see that. It's just a demonstration. It's not for training or nothing. I'm just trying to say something. Suppose you're in the clouds, and let me just say, just think of it. This is a simile. Okay. Jesus is your. So he didn't tell you to be good or bad. He just says, "Follow me," right? Just follow me. So you're in the clouds. You can't see. So your altimeter is going to tell you your altitude, right? Now you got your airspeed. It's going to tell you how fast you are. There's your HSI, and that you can see there's the clouds. And if this thing's below, let's say just like it's going, the wings are like above the clouds, and you're going straight up to the right. I don't know if it's my right. I'm backwards, so I think it's the right. Anyway, this wing is a precision gyro that winds up and it will tell you exactly where you are there. Like the dark portion here, that's the horizon. That line there's horizon. That's blue. That's the sky, and that's the ground. Okay. So let's say you're going this way, but down. Your altimeter right here is going down rapidly, and your airspeed is going up. Okay. So you're in a spin, and you're turning bank. You're inclining. Let's say you got it balanced. So let's say so the ball is in the center like it is now. But your wings are going 30 degrees to the left. Okay. You're and then you're I can't think right now. This is turning rapidly.
Yeah.
It's turning like out of control. So, and the VSI directional gyro. That's what I'm trying. Directional vacuum after directional gyro, and your VSI is going down. Let's say it's instead of this one, it's going like 1,000 feet per second. So you're going down pretty. So what is that telling you? Okay, let me just, for those pilots, just hang in there with me. So what that's telling you is I'm going like this. I'm spiraling getting ready to crash, right? But I'm thinking about me. I'm not looking at my instruments. I'm like, you know what? I don't feel this going down. And if you ever had that training, sometimes you can't tell. You can't tell if you're coordinated, you can't tell if you're going out of control or not. So you're spiraling. You're going down the ground. Okay, so for how we get out of that spiral is you got to look at your instruments, right? So first thing you do is you pull the power. Okay, so I'm going to slow my descent to crashing. So I'm pulling my power. What else you do? Remember?
And you don't put me on the spot.
Okay, so the next step is you level your wings. So basically, I'm going this direction. I'm leveling my ailerons. Okay, that's that. The ailerons on the very end. You level them out, and then what you're going to do is what? You're going to change control with your rudder. Your rudder. So now you're going to turn out of control. Okay, and then you're just going to keep. Then you're just going to level out. Now, what did you just do? You listened to you basically saw your instruments. You corrected basically all your instruments. You listen to God. Like I said, it's a simile. I'm not saying God's the instrument. I'm not telling you that. I'm just giving you an example how aircraft and cars, you could relate that to the Bible. Okay, I'm just saying if you have, you know how you always hear God's your compass. It's the same thing. I just use an analogy of instruments to say the instruments aren't going to tell you, hey, Mark, you need to do this. No, they're going to show you information. Hey, dummy, wake up. Wake up. You're asleep. Mm-hmm. If you don't follow me, you're going to crash and burn. That's what you're going to do. You're going to spiral on the earth and you will die. Period. You're going to die.
And that's,
because you didn't follow the rule, you didn't follow the instruments, you didn't follow God. You took it upon yourself to say, I know better. I'm arrogant and I'm prideful and I know better. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. You guys know what I'm talking about. And guess what? Because your arrogance, you crash and burn.
got you into trouble.
You got you in trouble. Now I'm just going to give one more example of that, and I'll move on and I'll let my wife talk about it. Okay.
Mhm.
So in 1972, I like, guys know, if you stand I like to look at NTS ports.
Some people don't know what that is.
Okay, I'm going to explain it. Okay, NTS is National Transportation Safety Board. Okay, I had a class on this one. I go to classes on this stuff. Okay, so in 1972, December 29th, 1972, Lockheed Lima 1001-1 TriStar crashed at Florida Everglades. All three cockpit crew members, 2 of 10 flight attendants, and 96 of the 163 passengers were killed. 75 people survived, with 58 of them suffered serious injuries. Okay? Now, what's this got to do with what we're saying? So, what the NTS report, all it says, and I can tell you, I'm going to read what it says. It's very simple. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, determined that the crash was a result of an inadvertent autopilot disconnection that went unnoticed by the flight crew as they attempted to correct the unsafe gear position indicator. You know what it was? It was a burnout light bulb, a 5-cent light bulb that did all that damage. Because if you focus on all these distractions, you're going to kill yourself. Look at all the world, all the news, open up any news. It doesn't matter. It's distraction after distraction after distraction. God wants you to look at him, not all these distractions. These are distractions. Yeah. You can't focus on if you got distractions. So that my point, I hope you understand that this is serious. People need to wake up. You can't be asleep at the wheel. Oh yeah, I go to church every Sunday, and yeah, pastor's outstanding. I bet 90% of you can't by Wednesday. You go to church on Sunday. I bet by 90%. I'm just guessing. This is my opinion. I bet 90% of you can't even remember by Wednesday what the pastor told you or what it meant. Because you know what? You're caught up in distractions. And this distraction right here, the 1970, and this is just one of them. They're all over the place. And the reason I'm saying this, most airplane accidents are very few, because you know why? You can't look at a distraction. You navigate or aviate, navigate, communicate. Right? When what's the first thing you go in the airplane they tell you when you go in a commercial airplane? If the yellow oxygen container pops down, put it on yourself first. Don't put it on a child or whatever until you can't help anyone if you can't help yourself first, right? You got to put the oxygen on you first. Then you could go to your kid or whoever's next and help them. You can't help people if you can't help yourself. And that's what I'm trying to say on this one. I'm just going to do one more. And
hand it over to
I'll
me.
hand it over to you. Where am I at? About 33 minutes. Okay, we're doing good.
We're doing good.
Okay. Okay, so let's go with sticker. Okay, I'm going to do Classics 3-1-8. Okay. So this is what I'm tying in a time for everything. There is a time for everything, a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and time to die, a time to plant and time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to rebuild, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to lose, a time to keep and time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak up. Now it's time to speak up. a time to love and a time to hate. I don't know about that one.
What does it say?
It's a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do people really get out all their hard work? I have thought about this in a connection with the various kinds of work God has given people to do. God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in a human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. Isn't that true? So I concluded that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to enjoy themselves as long as they can. And people should eat and drink, enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are gifts from God. We went over that before in the other one. Okay, so I got one more, and I hand it on to my beautiful wife, Lydia. Okay, I got Matthew 6:30. 6:30. Where are you? Okay, 6:30, and then I am pretty much done with my talking points. And if God cares so wonderfully for flowers, and that they're today and gone tomorrow, won't the more surely care for you? You have so little faith. So don't worry about having enough food or drink or clothing. We went over that in the first video. If you haven't seen us, go look at that. We talked about Genesis 1. Why the like and pagans who are so deeply concerned about knowns of all your needs. And that's what we're talking about, distractions. And he will give you all you need from day to day if you live for him and make the kingdom of God your primary concern. There it is, right there. Stop looking at distractions. They're all over. That's horizontal. This is this way. The news, the gossip, the internet, all this garbage on there. That's horizontal distractions. Look straight up at God. Ask him for an answer. He'll give it to you. You know, it's like let me finish this up and I'll just explain to you. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. How about that? It's like, let me give you this. So if you guys live in a city, what do you hear? Sirens, screaming, shouting, cars, buses go by, right? Horns blowing. The sky is lit up with all these lights.
People fighting with each other.
Can you see the stars? Can you hear the birds? No, you can't, because these are distractions. So what do people do when they go on vacation? They go buy tickets or a cruise or go to islands, go to Florida and the beaches, whatever. For what? To look at God's creation. They look at the peaceful ocean. They look at the stars. Because why? You can see it. There's no lights. There's no distractions. There's peace. There's harmony. Okay? It's tranquility. It's quiet. You can hear your thoughts. And same thing with your Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit's soft-spoken. He's not going to demand you do this. You have this tugging at your heart saying, hey, like the scenario with the airplane. If you're in that, if you do some kind of thing, there's always something that tells you, hey, don't do it. And you do it anyway. That's what I'm talking about. You listen to distractions. The distraction will get you killed. In some type of form, it's going to be very destructive in some form, is what I'm saying. So get serious about it. You need to get serious. I mean, we're not going to be perfect. And I'll say we
make our mistakes.
I'm the least perfect person I know, but I'm trying, and we're work in progress. We keep trying every day for the better. Every day should be better than the last day.
And you don't give up.
And that's the portion about what I was talking about. When you're cruising your airplane and you lost, you think the term crash and burn, I believe that's where it came from. You spiral out of control because why? You didn't pay attention to instruments. You didn't pay to God. You didn't listen to God. You didn't listen. You didn't listen to the Holy Spirit. And guess what? You knew better because you're belligerent, your ego is really high, and you crashed and burned on your own remittances. So anyway, I'll take it over. Lydia's going to take over.
Well, thank you, honey. That was really nice what he was sharing today. And so
It took 40 minutes.
That's okay. My honey he took most of my time. No, just kidding. Anyways, so I'm gonna give you my take on what he was sharing today. And so I'm gonna give you my take on the weight imbalance. So the weight imbalance, on how I look at it, is that we all carry a baggage. We carry a baggage of unforgiveness, resentfulness, anxiety, and worry. We also have guilt and shame, distractions, and materialism. And also with that, negative self-talk. And I just, first of all, before I get into any more of this, I want to make sure that I let you guys know that my information is also, when I do research, I also get stuff like from AI and so forth. And so whatever I borrow, whatever I borrow from there, I just wanted to let you guys know that where I got my information from. And so anyways, continuing on. So the first one, spiritual weight. So we're going to talk about the weight part of it. And so the weight, for example, like unforgiveness and resentment, that is a weight that people carry, and where we have a tendency to not forgive. We hold a lot of unforgiveness in our hearts. We become very resentful. And the thing is that when we don't learn to forgive, because Jesus wants us to forgive, and when we hold all that inside, which it builds up, and it becomes very unhealthy. And so on the other side, with the spiritual balance, Jesus gives us the grace. When we ask Jesus to teach us to learn to forgive, and he gives us the grace, and he gives us compassion. He gives us compassion to love everyone. He gives us the grace to be the grace of being understanding, being loving, being gentle, being kind. And also, a lot of people suffer from anxiety. I suffer from anxiety, and also worry. When we worry and we have anxiety, it all builds up, and we start becoming overwhelmed about things. And so when we put our full trust in God, Jesus wants us to put our full trust in him, because when we trust in God, God takes away all the worries. He takes away all the anxieties. He takes away all the unforgiveness and the resentment that we have. So Jesus wants us, like I said, he wants us to put our full trust in him. And he wants us to have faith, to know that when we trust in him with all our problems, Jesus takes care of them for us. Also with that, for when it comes to guilt and shame, we are all fault at that. We all, some way or another, we all had some type of guilt. It could be guilt that we lied to somebody, or shame because we cheated on somebody. Those two things can fall into so many different categories. But on Jesus' side, the spiritual balance part, I should say, is that the spiritual balance is that when we have acceptance, when we accept Jesus in our hearts and we learn to forgive, Jesus forgives us. Jesus teaches us the wisdom and knowledge to have, to learn to trust in him, to have grace and compassion. And I'm going back to what I was saying from before. Jesus, when we trust in Jesus, he gives us the grace and compassion and the understanding, wisdom and knowledge. And so continuing, Distraction, like my husband was talking about today, distraction, and also materialism. There are so many things in our society today that we get so distracted by. We get distracted by like things that we watch on TV, things we hear with other people. Like we can get so caught up in gossip that can become a distraction because it's distracting a person. You're getting sucked into something about, when other people are gossiping about somebody else when you could be busy doing something that's for Jesus, not getting stuck into something that you shouldn't be getting into, that is not healthy. And another distraction could be like, for instance, stuff that you're looking on the internet, stuff that you think that it's okay to be watching when it's not okay. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that the devil puts in front of us. He puts stuff that is unhealthy, especially like when it comes to movies for children, movies for adults. I mean, our eyes could be so deceiving. We can be looking at stuff that we think that's healthy, and it's not. And so when it comes to like materialism, we are so focused on things of the world. We are so focused on like, say for instance, materialism. We have to have the best type of phones, the expensive ones, or the jewelry. Of course, I know I'm spoiled with jewelry, but I don't look at it like, I know love expensive jewelry, but the thing is that I don't know what happened, honey.
What did you do?
I don't know. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened, but going back to materialism, we can get so caught up in things. We can get caught up in the gifts and so forth, like what being showered so much, or money. That's also plays a part in materialism too. And it's how you go about doing that. But on the spiritual balance side of that, with that, Jesus gives us like the presence, and he also teaches us us to learning how to pray. Also, like, how can you say this, honey? Like the presence and prayer and services. How would you put that?
You just take it upon yourself to read the Bible every day.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
You make a relationship with Jesus.
You make a relationship with Jesus.
Like I said, on my part, if you only do 28 minutes a week, I don't care how good your pastor is. That's not a relationship with Jesus. Not at all. You need to take upon yourself to read, because we read outside of going to church. We're not going to, the word is there. There's only so much they could do in what, an hour and a half. So like I said, the church spends like, I don't know, our church does like hour and a half. And they do about 30 minutes of the sermon or the word. Okay? So what you're going to get out of that is what you're going to get out of it. And if you're going to say that's all, a lot of people I talk to, they say, oh yeah, I'll go to church and I do my tithing. So what? So, I mean, you really what did you accomplish? Yeah, it's part of it. It's good you give tithing. It's good that you go to church, but what else do you do? What else do you do the rest of your time with the week? Like I said, you did, if you add up let's say 30 minutes a weekend, Sunday, it's 120. So basically you're giving Jesus 2 hours of your time a month. That's not going to, you can't know. So if you, like I said, if you say that to a relationship to your spouse, if you gave her 2 hours time a month, you won't be married very long. Right? Because you don't know each other. She said, I don't know you. Who are you? Right? That's how I look at it.
Yeah. So, and that was a great example. And so, continuing on. So, negative and self-talk. So, negative self-talk can be like, we're talking down on a person. We're being so negative about how we can criticize a person and we speak negative remarks, and that is unhealthy. Jesus doesn't teach us about, Jesus is not about being negative. He is about being positive. And when we are negative, when we have that behavior, where we're just nothing but we show nothing but negativity, that is very unhealthy. And what should be coming out of our mouths is about positive things, like, you know, encouraging others, sharing with others about the love of Jesus, or, you know, or also when it comes to relationships. I tell you, in relationships, there is a lot of negativity that happens where you know, when two people start fighting with each other and they start saying negative remarks, and pretty soon that you're basically just hurting each other. And so, and on the other side, on the spiritual balance side, Jesus wants us to have the gratitude. He wants us to know that he wants us to know that his word is worth every single bit of it. You know, like, I should explain that more.
So
You go
I
ahead.
can explain.
Mhm.
So in Revelation chapter 2, chapter 2, 2, I know all the things you do. I have seen your hard work and your patient endurance.
Uh-huh.
I know you don't tolerate evil people. You have examined the claims of those who say that you are apostles but are not.
Mhm.
You have discovered they are liars.
Yep.
You have patiently suffered for me without quitting. But I have this complaint against you. You don't love me or each other as you did at first. Right there. Look how far you have fallen from your first love. Turn back to me again and work as you did at first. It says
Where's that in
Revelation chapter 2, 2.
Wow, that's powerful right there.
So if you don't, here we go. I will come and remove your lampstands from its place among the churches. Doesn't that sound like Matthew?
Yep.
But there is this about you that is good. You hate the deeds of the immortal narcissists just as I do. Anyone who is willing to hear should listen to the Spirit and understand what the Spirit is saying to the churches. Everyone who is victorious will eat from the tree of life and paradise of God. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Sounds like First Genesis. What do you say? The trees of life, right? Okay.
Okay, so continuing on. So I'm going to back up here, going back to unforgiveness and resentment. So now on the actionable purpose for unforgiveness and resentment would be releases the heaviness of holding onto past hurts. So that's what, see, when with the spiritual balance, where I had mentioned going back, grace and compassion is where Jesus is, mentions that where we release the heaviness of holding onto the past. Jesus wants us to let go of the past. He doesn't want us to. Can you turn the fan this way, honey? Because it's a little hot. Jesus doesn't want us to hold on to things that are going to hold so much burden in our hearts. He wants us to learn to release those, like, just he wants us to let it out, but he wants us to let it out and give it to him, because Jesus is what takes away all that heaviness, all that burden that's built up inside. When it comes to anxiety and worry, like how I mentioned, when on the spiritual balance side is trusting God. Give him the desires to take care of all your problems. We got to have our full faith in Jesus. And also with that, the actionable purpose of that would be move your focus away from self-reliance to spiritual alignment. And that is so true. When it comes to guilt and shame, like I said, and I know I'm repeating this, but I need to repeat it because I need to share the actionable purpose for this. So the guilt and shame, um on the spiritual balance side, would be, of course, the acceptance and forgiveness. And so when it comes to the actionable purpose for that, would be shift the spiritual center of gravity, like my husband was talking about, from condemnation to freedom. When it comes to like the distraction and materialism, um, on the spiritual weight side, but when we look at it on the spiritual balance side, that is the presence in prayer and service. And the actionable purpose of that would be we are removes the brains. How do you pronounce that name? Excuse me, guys. Encumbrances that block connection to your purpose. What is encumbrances? Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so but anyways, we are to remove encumbrances that block connection to your purpose. Also, with that, negative self-talk. So, and then on the spiritual balance side of that, gratitude and worth. So, the actionable purpose with that would be we need to rebalance mental weight by cultivating spiritual positivity. And I think this is really good example of breaking down the weight and balance. But I'm not done yet, guys, because I still gonna go into more stuff here. So, anyways, so remember how like we were mentioning about we carry our own baggage, and like I said, we carry a baggage of anxieties, we carry a baggage of worries, we carry unhealthy entanglements. And what I mean by unhealthy entanglements is it's talking about like relationships or associations that pull you away from walking with God. And that is easily to do because again, that's another way of being distracted. We could be distracted from things that are pulling us away from seeking God. And so how about complaints? Is that how you say it? Complaincy, which is a lack of discipline or the spiritual apathy, often described in the Bible as becoming dull of hearing. So basically that.
So
go ahead.
Let me reiterate that. So dull of hearing. That
Yeah.
If you know the story between David and Goliath, he didn't see Goliath as this monster. He was probably 10 foot, 9 to 10 feet tall, Goliath. David, he listened to God. He knew the covenant that he could not lose because of God's covenant with the Jewish people. Because Goliath, he condemned the Jewish, right? So David heard God. So he knew the covenant. He couldn't lose. He already knew that. Yeah. He knew when he was going to fight Goliath, he wasn't going to lose, right? So the dull of hearing, people, so that all them soldiers saw Goliath. Oh my gosh, they feared. What does God say? You don't fear man. You just fear me. That's it.
Yeah.
So they saw their eyes. They saw this 10-foot giant. Oh no. They saw the physical being. But David heard from the Lord, no, he already knew he's going to beat Goliath. He already knew that. He was a kid. I don't know if a kid or not, but he was younger than his brothers. Let's put it that way. He was not even, but God chose him to go fight Goliath, right? That's what I'm saying. That's how I take it, the dull of hearing. You listen to inner spirit in you, and whatever it tells you, just do it. That's it. You just do it. It's more, you get more out of it than seeing. You see and hear distractions because you choose to. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, and so continuing on, guys. So I'm going to give you more on balance. With I know I shared I shared weight, and I also shared some of balance. And so continuing on with balance here, what I have is that according to the Bible, where it talks about, like, for instance, like like to avoid burnout. and honor rest. And what God is talking about with avoid burnout and honest rest is where God's God modeled a rhythm of work and resting during creation, which mentions that in Genesis 2:2. Maintaining this balance prevents physical and emotional exhaustion while providing time to focus on family and faith. He also speaks about that we are to protect ourselves against spiritual attacks. And in the Bible itself, it mentions that the Bible warns us that an unbalanced, undiscipled life creates opportunities for spiritual downfall or the enemy. And you can find that in 1 Peter 5:8. Temperance and a clear, sober mind help ward off destructive habits and temptations. Another thing is this to center our priorities. That's a big one too. Jesus' story of Mary and Martha, which you can find in Luke 10:40-42, where it illustrates the need to balance work and service with simply taking time to sit and be with God. And my husband was mentioning that today. Seeking his kingdom first, which you can find in Matthew 6:33, brings order to the rest of our lives. Also, to cultivate contentment, which meaning the Apostle Paul teaches the importance of emotional and mental balances by learning to be content in every situation, avoiding extreme of greed or hardship. Philippians 4:11-12. Also, with that, when it comes to balance, Jesus basically teaches about balance, and where it's he mentions that basically what Jesus teaches is that true balance is found not in perfectly juggling earthly tasks, but prioritizing a relationship with God. He encourages surrendering anxiety, finding rest in Him, and maintaining a healthy perspective on wealth, relationship, and daily work. And you mentioned about that, yeah. And so like work versus rest. Jesus mentions that while He calls people to work, He also modeled and commanded the necessity of rest and retreating to recharge. That's found in Mark 6:30-31. He rebuked frantic, anxious busyness. Praising those who simply took the time to sit at His feet. And that was found in Luke 10:41-42. Also, material wealth. Jesus warned against the imbalances of greed, teaching material, how do you say that? Pursuits should never overweigh spiritual well-being. He pointed out the true security cannot be found in hoarding treasures on earth, which is found in Matthew 6:19-21. Okay. I wanted to share something in the Bible on Matthew 25-34. And it talks about do not worry. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. It is not life more important than food, and the body more important than clothes. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? And this I'm reading out of the NIV Bible. Who of you, by worrying can add a single hour to his life. And why do you worry about clothes? See how lilies of the field grow? They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon, in all his splendor, was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the fields, which is here today and tomorrow, is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all the things will be given to you as well. Lastly, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Every day has enough trouble of its own. And so I also just want to mention the last part of it is that we have to learn to have balance in life. We have to learn to, because if we have too much weight on our shoulders or too much weight in our hearts, we become unbalanced where we can't stay focused. We cannot have love in our hearts. We start having resentment. We start having hate. We start not caring about ourselves. We start having low self-esteem. We start having all these problems, and we don't know how to get out of those problems. But when we balance ourselves, balance ourselves like with, setting goals for ourselves, having structuring out. We got to have a plan. We got to have a goal. And when we do that, we start building ourselves back up. We start, when we start writing, the best way to do this is basically like you sit down, you get a piece of paper, and you start writing things down. You start setting goals for yourself. You start saying good, positive things about yourself. And then, but you know what? Also with that is that also not only that you sit down and write, but also when you open the Bible and you get into God's word, God is what gives us that full brightness. He gives us that full understanding of how to get out of darkest areas like sadness, unforgiveness, resentfulness. And I know I'm repeating this. And not to worry, not to have fear, not to have anxiety. And he wants us to think positive. And Jesus' word gives us that positive mindset. He gives us that positive feeling to knowing that when we focus on him, we are able to give positive feedback, giving positive feedback to your loved ones, like my husband. I could, where he teaches me to say loving words to him. You're handsome. You're kind. You're gentle. Or like you tell somebody that they're beautiful. Those are beautiful, loving words. And so, also with that, when we balance ourselves, there is a brighter and better future. When we don't balance ourselves and we carry that heavy burden, we are just falling into the traps of Satan himself. Because when we accept Satan, he takes control and he piles all this stuff inside of us, and that's just more weight.
It's called chaos.
It's called chaos. Yeah, I was going to get to that. It's called chaos. And so, but when we balance ourselves, we have a bright and better future. We're able to move forward in life, and when we're protected by Jesus, because Jesus keeps us away from all the stuff that weighs us down. And so So I also wanted to share that improve physical health. So improve, and this is on the mental health side. So to improve physical mental health, stress is so basically improve physical mental health. Stress is linked to many physical alignments, which is so true. Carving out for proper sleep, nutrition, and exercise keep your body resilient and energized. And I and I know this is not coming from the Bible, but just by using that right there, we have to have a clear mindset. We have to surround ourselves with positive, those who are positive. We need to get healthy sleep. We need to train ourselves to eat healthy. We need to also fill our minds with God's word, because God's word is what gives us energy. Um, let's see. Better decision making. It's about making the right choices and decisions in life. We need to, and the way we do that is stepping away from daily pressure or professional stressors, grants, a fresh perspective. It allows you to see the big picture and make clear, more rational choices. And the last one, nurturing relationships. Neglecting your personal life in favor of hyper focusing on the areas like your career can strain or severe personal connection. Balance ensures you have the time to invest in loved ones. So God wants us to invest in Him. He wants us to focus 100% on Him because He's first. He also wants us to focus on our loved ones. He wants us to not forget about them, and just like He doesn't want us to forget about, Jesus doesn't want us to forget about Him, but He wants us to focus on what's important, and that is God, our family, our family, and He wants us to, He wants us to have a healthy relationship, and so with this here, He wants us to invest in Him, invest our time, spending time with and I guess I'm repeating myself with that, but excuse me with that. But He just wants us to spend time with Him. And He wants us to not to forget to spend time with family, because life is short and we are promised tomorrow. And Jesus is coming soon. And we got to be ready. Like what my husband was talking about, that plane that crashed, that example that he was giving. A lot of times there are pilots out there that just one simple mistake cost them their life. And always got to be ready with Jesus, because like I said, we aren't promised tomorrow, and there is such thing as hell, and there's such thing as heaven, and not everybody's going to go to heaven. So anyways, that's what I wanted to share today, and I hope you guys enjoyed the little Bible study that we had, and continue to follow us on YouTube. We would love for you guys to join us, subscribe to us, send your heart, your likes, and all that. Mm-hmm. And also, if you guys want to, you're always welcome to in the chat room. There's a chat room that you can always put your questions. If you have questions or concerns, feel free to do that, and we can answer them to the best of our ability. Is there anything you'd like to say? No. Okay. Well, anyways, we want to let you guys know that my husband and I are having a big event called Tailfeathers and Wheels Annual Swap Meet that is taking place in Davenport, Washington at the Municipal Airport on August 29th and 30th of this year. And we are going to have a big event, an event where we are going to reach out to the communities with love, peace, and understanding. And we just want to bring families together. This event is going to have hot air balloon rides, helicopter rides, biplane rides. We are also going to be sharing what's really important is the love of Jesus with everybody there. We are going to have also classic cars, warplanes, all different kind of planes, people flying in from all over. We're going to have food vendors, all like 7 to 8 food vendors. We're going to have RC plane display, remote control display. And
Kids.
also with that, activities for the kids. We can't forget about that. That's going to be so exciting because guess what? We are going to be handing out trophies, even for the little children too. Trophies and ribbon awards and certificates for first place, second place, third place, fourth place too.
Tell them for what?
For the little children the kids are going to be painting airplane models and car models, and it's gonna be where those little models are going to be voted on. And also there's going to be airbrush face painting. There's going to be so much activities for the kids, guys. And also with that, those who are part of the event, who are going to be showing off their beautiful planes and their cars, they're also going to get trophies too, and ribbon awards and certificates. So I also want to add to this, and I know there's a lot of information here, and I love talking to my husband. He agrees that, yeah, I do. Anyways,
I'm going to get the quarters out of her.
Oh, no. Okay, so I wanted to let you guys know that if you are a veteran, yes, if you are a veteran, I have to say, you get in for free. You also get a hot air balloon for free too. Wow, that is so cool. And kids 12 and under, they are free. So come out and check us out. Bring your families so you guys can enjoy having fun, sharing memories, because everybody has a story to tell. And anyways, that's what I wanted to say today. And if you want to, you can find us on Facebook under tailfeathersandwheels.com. And also with that, you can find us on GoDaddy, on Tailfeathers and Wheels. And we're all over the place.
No, it's just GoDaddy's domain.
Okay, GoDaddy's domain, I guess. Okay. But anyways, if those who are interested in being part of this event, we would love to have you. If you have a car that you would like to show off, if you want to be a food vendor, or if you have an airplane that you would like to show off to, or a project that you are working on, we would love to have you out there. Just reach out to me, and I'll give you my information here in a bit. Also with that, I have to mention the flea market. We are going to have car parts, airplane parts, which is so exciting. So anyways, if you want to take part in this event, please reach me at Lydia at tailfeathersandwheels.com. Once again, that is tailfeathers and it's Lydia. It's Lydia at tailfeathersandwheels.com. And the number you can reach me is 509-771-7271. God bless and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you next time.